live on everything. My name is Andre Bright. I am a burnout recovery coach. And for the month of May, which is Mental Health Awareness Month, I have been doing a burnout live video every morning, every single morning. And it's been a bit of a challenge in some spaces, but actually been quite cool in others. So challenge in the sense of one, building that habit, waking up at this time, using it as a space to record these videos. But the good thing about it is it's kind of acted as a bit of a journal, a bit of a reflection time, and a bit of an opportunity to put my ideas together. Yes, Andrea, what's going on? Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. And every morning I've been talking about a different aspect of burnout. So if you were to go online and if you were to experience it, right, you're probably going to go online. You're probably going to look at what things you can do to get out of it. You probably look at understanding different things about it so you know what you're feeling. And you're going to be met with a few things, which me as well, when I was on this journey at the beginning, was doing the same thing. But what I found was the more I work with people, the more I find out that when you Google search these things, you're not really getting the full picture. And a lot of the times, the information by itself isn't enough. So you need the application. It's like, how do I incorporate that into my actual life? And so today, yes, good morning, Patrick. Good morning, Dre. Good morning, Hamid. What's going on, man? Longest time. Hope you're well. Who else do we have here? Yes, Andrea. Long time, long time. And I realized that there was an opportunity here to expand a little bit more on the things that you don't see talked about so much. Some of my favorite topics when it comes to burnout in terms of its recovery are things like your self-image, for example, things like how to actually build connection when you're in the middle of, because a lot of people who are experiencing burnout might feel that they are givers, they're the people rely on. So how do you, as someone who's never really received help, do that? You know, all these little things that are nuances within the topic that people don't always talk about. So today I'm going to be talking about something that I'm actually quite passionate about ever since, like, I don't have any children of my own, but spending time around kids, my godchildren, etc., I've learned so much from them. And so today I'm talking about how to engage your inner child to beat burnout. And it's one of these things where if you hear it just by itself, you might think, what is he talking about? Like, the inner child, if you're experiencing burnout, you've got these work stresses, you've got all kinds of stuff going on in the world. You're thinking about, yes, Didier, amazing, good to see you, man. You're thinking about all these things that are on your mind, and you're thinking the last thing I want to do is be immature or childish. That's not going to help me solve the problem. My stance today is that it would, right? I think we actually need to learn from and not demonize from those who remain connected to their inner child as they grow older. They're the ones who continue to be curious and playful. They're spontaneous. They take risks. They change the energy in a crowded room when they walk into it. They're the ones that are happy to be just as happy to be alone as they are to be the center of attention. But we call them childish and immature, right? And I was on the way home one day, and I remember vividly hearing someone on the phone having this conversation with someone on the other side, and they were really slating into them about them being childish. And obviously, I don't know what was going on. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But the thought of being called childish as a negative thing really stuck in my head. And I thought, what if it's actually a benefit? And then I started to look into it a little bit more. And then I realized that there were 5 main aspects of being childish or connecting with the inner child that actually helps you with burnout. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. Number 1 is curiosity and wonder. This idea that everything is new. Like, if you watch a baby, right? If you think about it, they've just come into this world and nothing has been experienced before. So everything is just like, wow, what is this? There's a scene from what was it, Nightmare Before Christmas or something, where he's coming into the real world and he sees snow for the first time, and it's like, what is this? What is this? Everything is just bringing this excitement because you're just curious. There's no judgment specifically, and that's one of the things that I would say about curiosity. It's not a judgment thing. When we one of the things that I think keeps us in a state of burnout and keeps us stressed is that we think that we should or shouldn't be feeling this way, or they shouldn't or shouldn't be acting this way, or I should or shouldn't react this way. And when we do that, we actually cast judgment on ourselves and others, which means that we find it very difficult to act or release certain things because we feel like this is not the way that things should work. I remember being in an interview once, and one of the things I said that they pulled me up on is I said that one of the things that releases me from a lot of pressure is look at things how they are and not how I think they should be. Just take it as it is, face value, and be curious about it and just wonder. It's like, oh, so why is that? And I wonder what are the conditions that made that a possibility? Or how can I do that too? And just ask yourself these questions, open-ended, wondrous questions, and look at things new. Try and find new things in things that you've seen all the time. Like if you're at the job and you have a challenge and it's the same one you've had for the last 5 years or something, or you've got a new project that landed on your desk, wonder to yourself, oh, how can I do it differently this time? And try and shift your energy into that curious state. Because when you do that, you start to release yourself from some of the pressures. It's important to think about it in the terms of possibilities, right? And I know we've talked about this before. Like, what is the possibility here? What am I missing? What is the opportunity that I'm could be stumbling across? Some of the greatest inventions and some of the things we take for granted now have been born from accidents, things that have gone wrong that we found new possibilities with. Penicillin, for example, right? It's an experiment gone wrong. We were looking for one thing, we found something else. So embracing curiosity and wonder without judgment is the first step for me in engaging with your inner child to beat burnout. When things go wrong, be curious. What has led me down this way? Kind of separate yourself from the situation and be able to look at it from the outside. That can really help you to navigate it, because then you can look at the whole picture instead of being so gritted in the details and the woe is me and everything is going wrong. If you're able to separate and take a step back and just be curious and just watch the situation fly by. If you're in a conflict at work or a conflict at home, if you are watching the tasks pile on, take a step back and think, oh, I wonder what's behind this. What is it that is leading me to accept all these things? What is it that is creating this tension between me and this person right now? I wonder what I don't know about this situation, which would help me to navigate it better. Having that curiosity and wonder, no matter what the situation, right? So that is what if there's one thing you take away from today, let it be to engage your curiosity and wonder. I feel like we tend to fall away from that the older we get. We get this idea that as I grow older, I should be wiser. And as I am wiser and I have more knowledge, you tend to stop being curious because you think you know it all. When actually the more you know, the more you don't know. Or the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And so it's all the more reason to be curious. And I think when it comes to people, when it comes to things, we can't afford to assume that we know everything, because then we get trapped and we miss the solutions and the opportunities and the possibilities that are right next to us. The second step for engaging your inner child to beat burnout is engaging in creative activities. Now, I am obviously biased. Dance is a big part of my life. I teach it, I perform, I do workshops, and even yesterday I was teaching a dance movement therapy workshop, right, for people experiencing bereavement. And creative activities for me are real key when it comes to releasing yourself from pressures and stress. And stress is the source of burnout. Stress prolonged over a long period of time, which isn't dealt with, leads to burnout. That's when you start to see all the manifestations physically, mentally, emotionally. So creative activities, I've talked about this a lot. If you missed it yesterday, I did a whole session on arts-based creative practices and how you can use that as therapy. So movement, art, dance, drama, all those kind of things. You might even look at textiles and making your own clothes as part of your therapy. You might look at games. You might look at um, journaling or creative writing, whatever it might be. You might use those, those elements as outlets, as expressive um, containers for how you feel. And it's important because when you create and participate in creative activities, it allows you to express yourself and tap into your imagination. Now, we as humans have been blessed with imagination, but sometimes it can be used against us. Imagination means that you can see the possibilities, but it also means that you can imagine what could go wrong, right? So, negative use of imagination of the past deals with regret, right, and shame. Negative imagination in the future can produce anxiety, right? But one of the things that I talked about is physiologically, the difference between an anxiety and excitement are actually physiologically the same. Your heart rate increases, sweaty palms, everything that Eminem talked about in Lose Yourself, right? They're all the same. The only difference is your anticipation of the future is negative or positive. If your anticipation of the future is negative, then you're going to be feeling anxiety. If your anticipation of the future is positive, then you're going to be feeling excitement. It's like the glass half empty or glass half full scenario. Both acknowledge the other, but they focus on the one, right? So if I say the glass is half full, it's not ignoring the empty part, it's actually acknowledging the bit that is half. And if you have a choice to look at the negative and the positive, why don't we choose the positive? We spend, I think, 80 or 90% of it, our time, thinking about negative outcomes and negative things. If we were to find ourselves a little bit more balanced, I think we'd feel different during our days. And there's lots of research to suggest this, right? And so the idea is thinking about what um, using those creative outlets, art, music, writing, to express ourselves. Sometimes we can't put what we're feeling into words, so draw it. Maybe it's a color, maybe it's a shape, maybe it's an animal, maybe it's a pebble with a certain texture of it, right? Maybe it's an outfit, maybe it's how we feel. Maybe one of the things for me as an outward reflection of what's going on inside is I look at my room sometimes, and when my room is messy, I know that I need to attend to something internally. If I've been wearing black for the last month and I've put no other colors, I've not been wearing my Africana, I've not been wearing other colors, I realize maybe there's something going on internally that I need to look at because I haven't been expressing all the different colors that I have. Yes, Mo, welcome, Mo. Yeah. So step one is embracing curiosity and wonder. Step two is engaging in creative activities. Step three for engaging your inner child to beat burnout is a playful mindset. Now, one of the things I always say is that I really don't like this idea of work-life balance. I don't believe in it. I don't think it exists. And I think to put work at the same level as life is part of the reason why we hurtle towards burnout in the first place. If we think that work is just as important as life, then that's the beginning of the end for me. For me, I prefer work play balance. I feel like both of them are subcategories to life. Life is the overall category, and underneath it is work and play. And play for me is the opposite of work. Work being something that's focused on a specific outcome, play being something that isn't. And you do it without an outcome in mind, which means that the pressure is off, right? One of the things that I try and do at work is I try and get myself into the play mindset, even though I'm working, right? So I have a design as an architect, I have a design I have to do, but I think to myself, oh, what would be an interesting way of doing this, right? Different examples, different ideas of how I can still meet the client's needs, but I can do it in a way that I enjoy. Like if I was to come in here, how would I like to do it? Yes, you did. Good to see you, man. So for me, mindset is really important to balance out the work side, right? And again, I said the first thing that you need to do if you're taking away anything from today is looking at embracing curiosity and wonder to beat burnout. That's really important. But if anything else, remove work from the same level as work from the same level as life in your mind. Stop saying work-life balance. If work and life are balanced, then it means they're just as important to you. And I would assume that life is more important to you than work, because if you have work and you lose your life, which many of us don't even reach retirement age to be able to explore what's on the other side, then you've lost most of your life. How can we incorporate play into your life just as much as work? All right. So that playful mindset also means that you don't take things as seriously. And so if things happen to you, if you do something and the past you would have piled on shape, oh, I'm a failure, I'm all this kind of stuff, then playful mindset allows you to be like, oh, well, it happened, so what? It's not as serious. I'm still breathing. I'm still moving around. There's a scene in Hangover where the guy's like, yes, but did you die? There's still an opportunity. The fact that you're breathing means that you can continue. They say that pain is experienced in the body, suffering is experienced in the mind. And what we often do is we think so seriously, so negatively, and we ruminate on these bad negative ideas that we increase the tension within ourselves, which hurtles us towards burnout, right? So one of the ways that we can lose that is to be playful and to not be as serious about things if and when they happen, and almost anticipate that, you know what, this is all part of life. I can't win all the time. There's going to be failure. And which means that when failure comes, if you know it's going to be part of the process, you don't take it as seriously and you don't internalize it as part of your being. So you allow yourself to go through the ebbs and flows of life, the ups and downs, without them affecting you so much. Because I promise you, one of the things I've seen with clients recently is that when they believe that everything has to be perfect in a certain way, and then it's not, then it feels like nothing is going right. When actually, if you allow yourself to be playful, if you allow yourself to accept and adjust to things that might go wrong and accept that as part of the process, then you'll be able to navigate things in a way that can help you avoid burnout altogether. Right. So adopt a playful mindset towards challenges and obstacles. Look at ways to make it fun, right? See them as opportunities for growth and learning rather than sources of stress. Because if you continue to look at it, look at things going wrong or looking at challenges and obstacles as just a challenge and obstacle, then you will find yourself going down this road towards stress and burnout. We have to change our mindset and look at things as we go out today. Think about something that you've always considered to be something that would hold you down, something that would be stressful, and just ask yourself this question: how can I make this fun? How can I make this interesting? How can I make this challenge something of growth, an opportunity for growth? Ask yourself that question and genuinely try and find an answer to it. One of the things I find with clients, which is one of the reasons why it's so important to have someone like a coach on your side, is that we would have a question like that in our mind, and our immediate reaction is, yeah, but there isn't an answer. And then we'll leave it there. The thing with having a coach or a personal trainer, for example, is we'll push you to find that answer. We don't accept no for an answer. And sometimes when we're by ourselves, it's easy to dismiss the things that could actually heal us. And so when it comes to being childish, when it comes to connecting with your inner child, if you don't allow yourself to do that, it's easy to dismiss the idea. Oh, this is actually enjoyment. I'm actually having fun. I'm at a karaoke night. Yeah, but that's just for people who are not serious about life. So I'm just going to walk past it. But then what that ends up meaning is that you don't have a release, right? You don't have a release. At the end of the movement therapy session I held yesterday, I put on one of my favorite songs in the world, Zero to Hero, which is part of the Disney Hercules soundtrack, right? And it was just an opportunity to be silly and just to engage in playfulness. And it was a release for all of us in the room, right? We'd had a really heavy session. We talked about all this stuff in terms of mirroring and seeing yourself and being heard and activating yourself within a room and making sure to take accountability and take space in a space. And then at the end of it, we burst in joy, and we jumped and we screamed and we laughed and we danced and felt so much better as a result of it. If we don't allow ourselves to be playful, we'll continue down this heavy burden road that will lead us toward burnout. If you just joined, this is 5 steps to engaging your inner child to beat burnout. I'm every day this month, which means that my last day will be Friday, I think, which will be the 31st. That will be the last one of these that I'll be doing. And then I'll go on to something else, but still talking about burnout. I'm a burnout recovery coach. So if this is something you're experiencing and you're struggling to find your way out of burnout, then we can talk. There's a QR code here if you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn. And if you're watching on Instagram, you can always DM me and we'll arrange a session. It's just 30 minutes long. I'll talk about some of the stuff I can help you with, and then I'll give you some tips. And if you need further help, I do drop-in sessions and programs, which are usually around 6 to 12 weeks. All right, so back to it. We talked 5 steps to engaging your inner child to beat burnout. We talked about embracing curiosity and wonder. We've talked about engaging in creative activities. We've talked about playful mindset. Number 4, the 4th step, is connecting with nature. If you watch children go to the park, right? I've mentioned about them being curious and wondrous, right? They will run, they would scream, they'll dance, they will touch things, they'll try and put things in their mouth, they'll look at the sun and stare at water, at their reflection in water. They will jump in puddles, they will do cartwheels on a path, they will do all kinds of stuff. They'll connect with nature, they'll do deep breath, they will just, if they're on the side of a hill, they would scream and shout and just listen for the echo. All those kind of things are really important ways for us to connect with nature. Spend time outdoors, connect with the natural world. If we especially in the West, I remember there was one particular period of time where I was really down and I couldn't understand why. And then I started to really think about it, and I realized, one, it was winter, which means that the sun was up really late and it set really early. 2, I would drive to work, which means that I would go from my door to my car and then drive, right? 3, the what's it called? The car park was in the basement, which means that once I get there, I actually don't experience natural air, light, sunlight, etc. The only time I experience that would be between the car and the house door, right? And then they had a canteen, they had a games room, they had a gym. So I would spend all day indoors, basically. I would spend, what, 10, 15 seconds outdoors between my door and my car, and all of that would be in darkness. And so I was, as soon as I realized that, I was like, no wonder I'm feeling so down. I haven't even taken a breath of fresh air in the last month. Nature is so important. Like, we're not meant to be in these kind of like environments all day into unnatural light as fluorescent light bulbs and all this kind of stuff. We need to get out into nature. Sometimes it can mean, okay, instead of taking the bus, I'm going to walk. I'm going to take a scenic route. On my lunch break, I'm going to walk around the building outdoors instead of indoors. When I meet someone, let's meet in a cafe with an outdoor seating instead of indoors. When I'm going on holiday, what can I pay attention to in terms of the nature? How can I engage in the wildlife? Do I want to go to I don't know what the park is where you have all those natural, you have those peacocks and all that kind of stuff, right? Finding ways to connect with nature, spend time outdoors, and take in the beauty and tranquility of the surroundings. And it can really rejuvenate your spirit. One of the things I find for me is one of the reasons why I enjoy going back to Sierra Leone so much is that my grandma lives next to the ocean, right? And one of the things I've noticed about myself is that large open bodies of water soothe my nervous system. So right now I'm living next to the Thames. When I walk by the Thames, I feel calmer. I feel more at peace. When I'm by rivers, lakes, when I'm at the beach, there's something about the sound of the lapping waves that calms my spirit. So, what's it for you? Is it the sound of rain on your window? Is it the sound of wind blowing through the leaves, right? There's something about nature that you're going to be connecting with, and pay attention to it, right? Actually have a look and realize how beautiful the world actually is. Not just the nature itself, but we are part of it, right? Look yourself in the mirror and be like, I am a work of art. Like, appreciate all those little things that we tend to take for granted. Connect with nature, and you are part of it as well. Think about the stars and the vastness of the universe and how you're part of that. You know, they talk about how carbon, the same kinds of elements of carbon that we've found in different planets in our solar system, and the tests that they've done of 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 carbon even outside of that is the same carbon we have within our bodies. We are biologically, physiologically connected to the universe. What is without is within. What is within is without. Right. So pay attention to that. You know, come to wonder like how incredible that is that we're part of this globe, this earth. That can also help you beat burnout, being connected to something beautiful. Right. So number 5, as in steps for engaging your inner child to beat burnout, is nurturing that inner child. So let's say you've done numbers 1 to 4. Um, I saw botanical parks that I've been to in Italy have white peacocks. Amazing. I didn't even know about white peacocks. I remember going to Madrid, and there was a huge castle there, and they just had animals just walking around, and it was incredible. It was beautiful, and I loved it. So let's say you've done those 4, right? You've embraced curiosity and wonder. You've engaged in creative activities. You're now in a playful mindset. You're connecting with nature whenever you can. The 5th step is to nurture that inner child. And one of the things I would say with this is being kind to it, not demonizing it, protecting it. So if someone is to cuss you out for being childish, be like, yeah, I am childish. That's the best part of me. Like, own it, actually nurture it, encourage it, find ways to connect with it every month, for example. Do something fun this week. Find yourself an opportunity to connect with your inner child. Is it that you need to connect with your children or your godchildren or your nieces and nephews and learn from them a little bit more? Maybe watch a cartoon you haven't watched since you were a child, or something that you used to enjoy. Maybe go back to the dreams and hobbies you used to have when you were in primary school or secondary school. Did you love painting? Did you love doing all that? Then schedule it in. Find a way. Even as an adult, there's coloring books for adults now that really popularized during the pandemic, because it helps with your mindfulness, your meditation, things like that. Try and schedule it just as importantly as you would schedule time with anybody else. Work, for example, schedule time for play. Maybe have an alarm on your phone where every time it goes off you have to do something fun. That could be just jumping or listening to a song you like, or taking a walk and dancing or skipping instead of walking, right? Doing something fun. Try and nurture your inner child. Keep it at the surface. Don't shun it. Don't demonize it. Don't think of it as shameful. It is there to protect you. It's there to heal you. Connect you. I promise you, give it a try and you'll see what I'm talking about. So engage in activities to bring your joy and nostalgia. You know, in Japanese, there's a word called uh, Natsukashi. Natsukashi is the feeling you get of positive nostalgia. Let's say you hear that song you used to love when you were a child, and then it comes up on the radio, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I used to love this song!" And immediately your body changes. You smile. Your energy goes through the roof. You feel like light and lifted. That feeling is called Natsukashi, and it's a beautiful word. One of my favorite words. Actually, my first company, I named it that, Natsukashi. And the idea of that company was it was dance based, but the whole idea was to bring that feeling of positive nostalgia. So we used music, we used dances, we had a host who everything about it was to bring that positive feeling of nostalgia back in. And so it's important. I don't know why people believe that to be mature means that you are not playful. Yeah, most of the entertainment we have is aimed mostly at adults. Yeah, a lot of it, definitely. And if you think about it, even the shows for children, there's always they're written by adults. And a lot of the times there's subliminal stuff which is directed at adults. So you'll find that you'll watch something with your child and you'll be laughing and they'll be laughing because you look at the same thing but differently. It's designed for you too, right? So nurture your inner child. Take the time to engage in activities that bring you joy and nostalgia and reminisce about the simple pleasures of childhood. Reconnect with your inner child. What were the simple things that you used to enjoy? Did you just love spaghetti hoops? Like, what was it that, bangers and mash? Was it, um, you know, like I said earlier, jumping in puddles and things like that and not worrying about the dry cleaning? Like, what is it that you used to love as a child that you don't do anymore that you need to bring back into your life? Ask yourself that question, right? So, yes, Henrietta, welcome back. And yes, Frank. All right. So, 5 steps for engaging your inner child to beat burnout. Step number 1, embracing curiosity and wonder. Everything is new. Find a way to make it industry. Ask yourself the right questions and be like, how can I make this something interesting? Number 2 is engage in creative activities, art, music, writing, dancing. How can you release? What are the things that you used to love as a hobby that you don't do now that you can bring back as a creative activity that can allow you to express the things you can't express in words, right? Playful mindset, not taking things so seriously all the time. Find ways to make things fun. Find ways for release. How can you make challenges and obstacles an opportunity for growth? Number 4, connect with nature. If you spend all your time in your car, in your house, at work, and you don't spend any time with nature, and you feel yourself feeling heavy and stressed, then maybe you need to take a walk. You know, in the pandemic, it was almost mandate to take a daily walk, and we all found the positive effects of that. Connect with nature. Go for a swim, go to the lakes, to the rivers, to the parks. Good morning. And number 5 is nurture your inner child. Once you start doing those things, make sure to schedule it in, like make it an intentional practice in your weekly routine to do something that connects you with your inner child. How are you doing, Henrietta? Good to see you. Yes, Asha. So I hope this has been helpful for you. And if this is something where you're like, okay, Dre, I hear what you're saying, to connect inner child, do that, right? Kids to look after. I'm trying to manage a community. I'm doing all kinds of stuff, and it's easier said than done. This is why you need help to implement these things. You can see how helpful it will be, but it's difficult to find a way to incorporate it. And this is where someone like me comes in as a coach. With burnout recovery, I would sit with you and we would go through exactly what your day might look like and look for opportunities to incorporate all these things that help, but you've forgotten about, help and you've shunned or demonized, so you don't do them anymore. All the things that you used to do to make you feel good that you've stopped doing. Sometimes it's good to just laugh things off 100%, or just laugh in general. Like put on your favorite comedy. If you have a choice of what movies to watch, make it something that is fun. Like one of the things that I did, like I don't watch news much anymore, and I remember having a conversation with my mum. She was feeling really stressed all the time, and I was like, with all due respect, you've watched news for the last 6 hours straight. And the way the news works, if you watch the same channel, is they repeat the stories and nothing is going to change within an hour, right? So if you watch 6 hours of it, you're just watching the same thing over and over again, and you're not releasing yourself from that negative pressure, especially with news that only talks about negative things, right? There's lots of things that are going on in the world right now, which are horrible. They're tragedies, they're atrocities to human nature, but there are also incredible things that are happening in the world that the news doesn't talk about. And so if you're only watching the news, you're not reading, you're not watching anything else, then you're constantly going to be bombarded with negative information, which is going to make you feel worse because, one, there's nothing you can do about it. It's in the other side of the world. Well, it's not that nothing you can do about it, but you don't know what you can do about it, because they don't exactly give you all this information and say, this is what you can do. They'll just be like, this many people are being killed here. This many people have done these crimes. These many people have gone missing. And then that's it. They don't give you anything to do, like, if you notice, right? So they just pile on the information and that's it. So it got to the point where I had to stop watching the news. And mum was like, how can you not watch the news? I was like, easy, I don't watch the news. And if something huge is going to happen in the news, I will know about it. Social media, people are going to be talking about it. There's going to be a billboard. There's going to be an advert. There's going to be something that's going to let me know if I really need to know. I don't need to watch the news to do that. And so there was a period of time where I actually just watched adventure and comedies, and I felt incredibly different. The change from watching news all day to watching comedies all day was crazy, and I needed that release because I'm a serious guy as well as the fun-loving guy that most people know. Most people who really know me know how deep I can go, right? But I needed something to release me from all that pressure. I was adding my own pressure all the way through life. And this is you. If this is you, I would encourage you to consider this. Look at the things that are adding the pressure to your life, it's mentally as well as physically or socially, and try and find ways to replace those things with something that doesn't add so much stress. Like, what can you tweak? If I'm like the example I just gave, if I'm watching news all the time, can I change what I'm consuming to something that's a little bit lighter for a change, and just see how that feels? If I'm taking the bus home, can I walk? If I'm um, if I'm building a business, right, with people, can I surround myself with people who I actually like? And if I'm spending time with my godchildren, can I do it by playing games with them as opposed to watching TV and just putting the TV on and then going in the other room? Like, can I actually engage with them? Like, if they give me the imaginary phone, do I pick up? How can I activate that inner child? We've got another comment that says, "What would you recommend? What would you recommend that my grand uncle can watch as he is obsessed with the news and is depressed?" That's a really good question. With that, I would probably start by having a conversation with him about what he actually likes, what he enjoys. He would have, if he's a great grand uncle, he would have had loads of experiences. Maybe even talking might be a great way to separate him from the news. Like, actually talk about, ask him questions about what he used to love as a child, what he's done that he's proud of, all these kind of things. And in that, you might find topics or activities or things that he might be interested in. Maybe he likes racing, for example. So then you're like, oh, have you watched the Grand Prix recently? Let's watch it together. Or if he used to like books or certain types of books, then get him one and read it together. Like, listen, I know this is going on, but let's read this together. I would, or just ask him, asking questions. One of the things that I do, which can be annoying, I'm not going to lie, is to coach people through things. And when you're coaching people, you're asking them questions as opposed to telling them. But sometimes there might lead to a solution that you're kind of hoping to go for. So, for example, it's like, oh, what is the connection between how you feel and what you watch? And is this something that you would choose? And if you could choose to how you could feel, what would that be? Like, what would you want to feel? And then what could we do to have you feeling like that? Because one of the things that it's good to be political, in the sense that good to be aware of what's happening politically, good to be aware of what's happening in the world, but you don't need to bombard yourself with it all the time, because it can really lead you down a dark road. And yeah, you can always try those things, see how it works, but also try and get him on side. If it's not something he wants to feel, help him feel something else. Yeah. So, like I said, 5 steps for engaging your inner child to beat burnout. Number 1 is curiosity and wonder. Number 2 is engaging creative activities. Number 3 is playing playful mindset. Number 4 is connecting with nature. Number 5 is nurturing that inner child. If you need help with this, there's a QR code here and here if you're on LinkedIn or YouTube to book a 30-minute chat with me. And if you're on Instagram, you can DM me and I'll send you the link. Out now.